Hello everyone, welcome to Green.io, the podcast for doers making our digital world greener, one bite at a time. I'm your host, Gaël Duez, and I invite you to meet a wide range of guests working in the tech industry to help you better understand and make sense of its sustainability issues and find inspiration to positively impact our digital world. If you like the podcast, please rate it on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite platform to spread the word to more responsible technologists like you. And now, enjoy the show. Hello everyone. Today we will go to Argentina and talk about digital agencies. Full disclosure number one, digital agencies is a domain I simply don't know and that I didn't consider until very recently on my journey in the digital sustainability landscape. To be honest, I come from a world where you have in-house teams developing your digital tech platforms, not even websites anymore, and I didn't have any interaction with agencies. But wakey Gaël, this is the exception, not the rule. Most companies rarely have one developer or designer, and in the US only, for instance. According to some estimates, more than 7,500 agencies operate. On the road to a carbon-free internet and more broadly toward digital sustainability, they are the ones setting the pace outside the digital pure players who tend to catch all the spotlights. Now, full disclosure number two. We won't go to Argentina this time, but we will enjoy a superb tango dance. Because our two guests today, Vineeta and Gavin, are great dancers in the game of seduction, but also pose, setback, repulsion with their clients to convince them about adopting sustainable approaches, managing their doubts, understanding their true needs, making compromise while remaining true to their values. And the interesting thing is that they both operate in the UK, they are both labeled B-Corp, and still they each have their own dance steps. But let's talk about our dancers in more details. Vineeta is a trailblazer in digital sustainability. Based in London, she founded Wholegrain Digital, a WordPress agency, with her husband, Tom, 15 years ago, with sustainability in mind from day one. Vineeta also holds a degree in electronics from the Mumbai University and a master in communication in space environment from the Lancaster University. And she is very active in the impact business world. From touring B-Corp businesses in the UK this year to supporting the Business Declares Tribune last summer. Gavin is a survivor, as he liked to say. He has founded Cayenne almost 20 years ago after a successful career as a creative director. He's based in Zurich, Switzerland, and holds a BA in History of Arts. He is also a vocal voice in the sustainability world. Welcome, both of you. It's great to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Gaël. Wonderful to be here.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure and an honor. I'd like to start with a question I ask to all my guests, which is, what did I miss in your bio? Did I forget to mention anything about you?
I don't think you forgot to mention about me. I never told you about it. I'm extremely passionate about composting. And I absolutely love to see what can be composted and how it's going to be biodegraded. And I've got a real interest in it. That's outside my digital world.
That's fantastic, Vineeta. Since moving to Zurich, my gardening has been curtailed somewhat because I'm now in a fifth floor apartment. But we still have our window boxes, and obviously we compost all our food waste. It goes to the Stadt Zurich rather than into my garden right now. I guess on a personal level, Gail, I'm a keen hiker, which again, wonderful to be in Switzerland to do that. And also I love freshwater swimming. So equally, Zurich, wonderful place to be because I'm only 10 minutes from the lake here.
Yeah, I love cold water swimming as well. That is an absolute passion of mine. So I'm really glad to hear that.
You'll notice, Vineeta, I said freshwater swimming. I'm still working up to the cold part, but there's plenty of that.
Yeah, Zurich Lake is amazing for that. We've used the special, the booths where you can leave your stuff and then go in the Zurich Lake. It's a pretty special place.
It's a wonderful place. We will have to go for a swim together next time you're here, Vineeta.
Absolutely.
And I feel very connected to both of you because in La Réunion, I've got a big compost unit in my garden. Pretty much everyone does. And well, when it comes to hiking, I heard we've got a few mountains. So it's great to have both your hobbies being explained on the show. And to start the interview, I'd love both of you to describe the journey your agencies took on the sustainability road. How did it start? What did it take? How did you overcome the challenges, etc., etc.? And maybe starting with you, Vineeta.
Yeah, happy to. Tom, my husband, and I were best friends before we got married and started the business before we got married. So it goes a long way back. And the reason we started our own business is because we realized that the people who are doing good in this world aren't getting the right branding assistance, or they're not being presented side by side of a non-sustainable option. So when we started in 2007, before that, we used to notice that an eco-friendly product was seen as a hippie product rather than a mainstream product. And our intention of working together and coming up with good branding, good websites, and so on was to give sustainable products an equal stage and give an opportunity to them to present alongside a non-sustainable product so that people could make a better choice. That's how it all started. That's how our concept of starting our own business came about. Once we had started thinking about what we want to do, then we started wondering about how we could help people. And then it came out in the wash that we would like to do branding, websites, help people have a good digital presence. And then we came across WordPress, and WordPress was a real hallelujah moment where, because we are customer first as a team, as our approach, it was important to us for finding a system that the customers feel extremely happy with, and then we can also specialize in, so it feels like a real marriage rather than something that we're good at and we have proprietary or something like that. So we became the first London's first, UK's first WordPress agency. And I remember knocking on many doors and saying, you should specialize in WordPress too, guys. This is an amazing thing. And lo and behold, we have a lot of competitors now. And it's great. Also, because we were so sustainability minded, it didn't even occur to us to not work or to work with people who were not conscious about sustainability. But it's only in 2009 that we came to a conclusion that we need a formalized ethical screening policy and for the clients that we take on. So we created one. It's online, and it's what shaped us. I would say that is what shaped our business, and that is when I feel like we really got started, because we now had said, this is the type of client we want to work with, this is the sort of service we want to offer, and this is what we're good at. And that sort of shaped the type of team members we hired, the type of clients that came on board. And I can go on and on about our passion for sustainability, not just mine and Tom's, but the whole team's.
Thanks, Vineeta. That was a fantastic rundown of the history of whole grain. With Kyan, it was a slightly different story, a different dance step, as you'd said, Gail. We didn't start out with sustainability in mind. We started out with building a good business in mind, and we've always been very people focused and always been operating and fair and transparent in our dealings, in our clients, with our suppliers. So to a degree, I think you could say that we were operating kind of as what B-Corp would term as a good business, but not necessarily the purpose-driven, the intentional business that the B-Corp aims towards. And I think it's really going through B-Corp certification that has changed our minds somewhat on that, and we're now bringing more of that intentionality into it. And I think really it's just sometimes going through these processes that really focuses, and you realize that what is actually important to you as a business. And I think bringing the intentionality, it's always best to start from the inside. So to get your own house in order, to make sure that your operations are sustainable, that you start with the core, you start getting the team on board. Thereafter, it's the outreach to suppliers, and then once you've got everything and you're happy in your own skin, as it were, that's when you can start having those discussions with your clients as well. And that's where we are as a company right now. I feel our business is rather than websites, rather than WordPress and content management websites. It's purely on the digital product and digital transformation. So we're a Ruby on Rails team. We have been since 2005, which was when it was first commercially available, and we build custom platforms that help businesses improve. And I think that's in the first instance, that's obviously improving on their bottom line. That helps them be more efficient. But then I feel now that we can have those conversations around environmental efficiencies, and just working smarter and helping them look after their digital carbon footprint as well.
You are both privileged witnesses in this digital sustainability landscape, and I would love to offer you to do a little game. It won't be a quiz this time. That was for Tim in the Tim Frick in his episode, but more a keywords race. And I'd like to put a word on the table with just a bit of an explanation and let you react to it. So if you're okay, I think I could start with the first one. You're in, both of you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the first one is actually two ones. And Gavin, you already spoiled a bit. Not spoiled, sorry, but you already what's the name?
I'm winning already.
Spoiled. Actually, no, that's spoiler. Spoiler alert. You already spoiled a bit the audience, because the first word that I wanted to put on the table is sustainable design. So 2 words. What can be done when you're a digital agency? What is the leeway an agency has regardless of its client requirements? So who wants to react first to sustainable design?
Well, I feel that actually this is totally the whole grain's raison d'etre, given that Vineeta's husband Tom totally wrote the book on this sustainable web design. Quite literally, it's a fantastic read. I know that it's been mentioned in the podcast many times, Gaël, but I'll put my stamp behind it as well. So yeah, there are many ways that we can get involved on this. One of the ones that we're pushing forward at the moment is I'm a member of the BEMA Sustainability Council, and we are building on top of a lot of the work that has already been done by Tom and by Tim Frick, who's also got mentioned previously here, and all of the good work from Chris Adams and the Green Web Foundation. Lots and lots of different resources out there. But what we're trying to do is to distill them into a more actionable set of guidelines, specifically focused on what commercial teams and agencies can do. Because I think sometimes a lot of people feel like they don't know where to start with reducing their online carbon. So that's one of the main things that we're pushing forward right now, and we hope to have the first cut of those released for the end of the year. So watch this space on that one.
Okay, and could you share already some insights on some actionable tips that are not covered by the seal of secret?
Reducing waste, making sure that we have low carbon design patterns in place. It focuses on obviously all of the good things that have already come out of the focus on optimization and accessibility and all of the reduced data transfer online.
And Vineeta, I guess you'd like to add many things because, as Gavin said, this is the area of expertise of World Green Digital.
Yeah, I love talking about it and I can go on about it, so you'll have to stop me. Just kidding. I'll try to keep it really short. It's it's a real combination of how you look at sustainability in design. You think about what performance in our case, what performance the design's going to have, what the performance benefit the code's going to have, and that all plays a huge part in what we do. So the design and content, how the copy is written, and how the user experience is created, so that you are giving utmost respect to your user. You're respecting their time, you're respecting their bandwidth for their mobile data, you're respecting the location they are by producing information that's relevant to them. But you're also then thinking of the benefits that are going to the SEO, because your search engine optimization plays on how fast your site loads, what benefits are brought in from low carbon design, which is sustainable design. They sort of span the whole, what I call it, like the ecosystem that clients want to hear. So they improve accessibility, inclusivity, it reduces your hosting costs, it makes your work easier to maintain when it is sustainable. It, of course, like I said, it improves your user experience and improves your conversion optimization. And most importantly, by stealth, introduces low carbon and energy conservation. Sustainable design is quite a wide topic, and you're doing an entire podcast series on this. So it's not one thing. It's like a it's like a kaleidoscope, one of those kaleidoscopes which you can just keep seeing new colors. That's how I feel about sustainable design. Every time you look at it, you see a new angle. And that's the beauty, that we can engage all of these agencies and freelancers who have started to do things in a beautiful way and sort of taking it forward than what we've done. And I'm very excited about that.
Respect your user. That one is excellent to describe what is sustainable design. And actually, that led me to the second word, and it's very related to what both of you said previously, which is clients.
Yeah.
And how to partner with them to deliver greener digital products and services. What are the main challenges and how to overcome them? And I'd really like to stress that I believe this is one of the core questions. You are the one on the front line of convincing people to put something on their agenda that might have not been there before. So I'm really curious, and I know that a lot of the people listening to this episode, they want to hear what can be done, what cannot be done, what are the success and the challenges. It's this unique relationship that digital agencies they have with their clients that will shape the path toward a sustainable web.
As far as clients go, I think it does feel like we're reaching a bit of a tipping point on this. Already, we do see clients coming to us with this on their agenda. It may not be top of their agenda. In fact, it hasn't been top of the agenda so far, but we are certainly getting people coming to us and referencing that they had certain targets that they want to meet, certain internal ESG targets. And they recognize the part that digital plays in that. So it is coming down the line, and whether that's because they know that they need to meet some of the coming carbon disclosure regulations, or whether it just meshes with their overall ESG guidelines as well. Whatever the reason, it's just really heartening to see that starting to come. When it doesn't come from the client, if the conversation needs to be initiated from the agency side, then obviously that's a harder sell. And for some people, it's just not on their radar. I think I'm sort of minded of the bad old days when we had to talk to clients about website accessibility, and you got the responses, "Oh, we don't need to do that because we don't have disabled users." Whereas now, I think that battle has largely been won. and it's largely been won by agencies and web creators, web developers, web designers to take it onto themselves to develop at least a good baseline of accessibility for their websites and for their web applications. And that's just the way we do it. That's sort of seen as normal now. And I think we need to get to the same place with environmental sustainability. So I think to a degree, yes, we can have those discussions with the client and explain why we've taken certain discussions and how they can help support that. But it also just has to become, like Vineeta says, second nature and somewhat baked into the overall approach.
Vineeta, you want to?
I'd love to, but I've forgotten the question.
Client and how to partner with them.
Yes, clients. That's my favorite thing in a way, why I'm in this business. It's amazing to have an amazing team, but there needs to be somebody you serve. And that's where the satisfaction comes from. We all find satisfaction from giving rather than receiving. I think that's something that's human nature. It's a bit like, I know I sound like I'm digressing, but when the person who gives the present on a Christmas day, for example, is the one who actually gets more pleasure out of it than the person who receives it. And that's something that is forgotten. And that's what we do for clients, where we're producing something that we know is of really high quality and giving it to clients. And then you see the pleasure on their face. And that sort of lights us up. That's how I see clients in our business. So the challenge that you talked about very briefly, we talked about what are the challenges. Sometimes the challenge is to make sure that the high quality craft that we have is accessible within their budget and their timeline. And how do you show them the value? Sort of giving them a new macro lens and showing them, hey, this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it. And come along with this journey and we'll show you how you're going to benefit from it, is sometimes a challenge. And although it's a fun experience at the end when the product is complete, to get them on the journey sometimes a challenge. To get the right stakeholders in the room is sometimes a challenge. Like Gavin said, if the brief already states that they are interested in sustainability, that battle is not a battle anymore because they are already advocates of sustainability. But if they haven't mentioned sustainability and have just mentioned ROI, then you return on investment, then you really need to start thinking about how to explain what the return on investment is by involving sustainability and actually just play on the benefits of improved accessibility and reduced costs of maintenance and hosting and better performance. And then that all plays into nicely with sustainability. So those challenges are real, and you just have to sort of dance around them as they come into your inbox. and I think the beauty of having digital sustainability and sustainability advocates on the team is that they find answers on how it's going to benefit the client. I think it's quite important to play on the benefits than just talking about sustainability. Sustainability should be a bit like accessibility, a standard, so they don't have to question it. So the product always is serving the client to the best and they are excited about it. But then sustainability sort of is this thing that they don't have to ask you about. It just happens in the background. And when it happens, and then they go and check their results on, say, website carbon calculator, they realize, oh, my website's low carbon. How brilliant. So it's like, instead of making it a challenge, we try to sort of enroll the client into our thinking and see how it pans out.
And that's a really good point in terms of not making sustainability a poor cousin. We should
Yes.
never see that like just because we are making your website sustainable, that doesn't mean that we're wearing a hair shirt. We're only going to, that we're going to have any less of an experience. I
Yes.
think that's where the challenge lies, because I think certainly some of the people working at the fringes of of trying to produce the most environmentally friendly websites perhaps may take things a step too far for certain clients' tastes. But I think the challenge is for us is to deliver these amazing world class experiences and fantastic usability and stunning design while still delivering it on a reduced bandwidth process. And those are some of the skills that have somewhat been lost in our heavy broadband age.
But to wrap up what you've both said is that actually you don't put sustainability on the table as a goal in itself. It's rather than an enabler like accessibility, and you really put the benefits for the client first. And then in the way you design things, you incorporate sustainability from the very beginning. I believe, Vineeta, correct me if I'm wrong, this is what is coined at World Grain Digital as efficiency by design. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely. So we talk about efficiency in user experience, efficiency in the design process, efficiency in the coding process, and try to give that the center stage rather than talking about sustainability. Just exactly like Gavin and you said. And efficiency by design touches on the points of efficiency because who doesn't like efficiency? Who doesn't like things done quickly, efficiently? It's like a magic word that clients want to hear because it just satisfies all of their needs, whether that be monetary or time. And those are the two biggest currencies we have, right?
And also we need to focus on not just on our outputs, but on our processes and making those the most efficient. I think I read a wonderful article from a fellow B-Corp, Brilliant Noise. Anna Parrish was talking about efficiency in content and rethinking single-use content, where she was talking about the need to treat content assets in the same way that we treat our digital assets in our design systems. So one of the things that in the Web Environmental Sustainability Guidelines is about not so as just not necessarily purely focusing on reducing page weight and reducing the size of the assets, but also working smarter with those assets, making sure that we follow processes so that we're not recoding and providing product bloats, particularly on the application development. But what Anna was talking about is treating basically having an atomic design system for content, whereby once you get to a large scale content in advertising, there are massive savings to be made from a working efficiency point of view, therefore from a cost perspective for the client, and also by extension there's a carbon saving by not producing more content and not producing more design that's actually needed.
So all in all, what you're saying is that you've got quite a lot of leeway in doing things the way you want without having to ask your client yes or no or any kind of or green light in designing things efficiently. That the client should not be an excuse to go pretty far on the sustainability journey. Don't get me wrong. If he or she wants 5 videos, a full like on the very same page, etc., you will be stuck at some point. There is still some stuff that you can do, like explaining that you will download an image only first instead of a YouTube player, and it's crazy a web page, for instance. But anyway, sorry, it's me rambling. But I think that the main message is like you can do things, and you've got a good enough leeway to start doing things without really having to convince your client of anything. And then obviously the next step is, for some of the challenges that requires your clients to be aligned with making efforts to become sustainable.
I'd
Yeah.
agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's very interesting. That's very empowering, I would say, because a lot of designer, a lot of developers are like, okay, I would love to do things, but I cannot really do it. I can't afford to. That's very interesting. Thanks a lot for the clarification. And I suggest we move on to the next word. And this one, I guess, is a bit more for Gavin than for Vineeta, because Vineeta already spontaneously spoke a lot about them, but it's teams. How to onboard the teams into a digital sustainability journey, and does it impact the turnover? Does it change the recruitment process? How did it go, Gavin? Because you didn't start with sustainability in mind from day one, I would say.
No, that's correct. And to be honest, I think it's a process that we're very much undergoing at present. There are leading voices within the team who are very engaged on in the world of digital sustainability, and there are certain areas where we need to share that knowledge more widely. But I think it's one of the areas that impacts every part of the process, from the strategy to the UX to the creative design. It's not just something that needs to be implemented by the front end teams and the data teams, making sure that we've got everything as compressed as possible. It has to come right the way through the process, following around to the QA teams as well. So there's it really does touch every area, but I think it's just a case of learning by doing and sharing information and sharing techniques as we go. We have a fairly well documented process for our strategy, UX, creative teams, and also within the builds thing. So it's a case of bringing those sustainable checks and balances to throughout the entire process. What it can't be is just, oh, have we run this through the sustainability checklist? I think it's something that just needs to be embedded in the thought and DNA of the project from the start. So that's what we're doing at the moment, is looking at all of the current documentation and seeing where we put these checks and balances in place to make sure that we don't come to the end of the project and then go, oh, now we need to start thinking about this, because that type of retrofitting just isn't going to work.
And my next word would be B Corp. About the B Corp movement, I recently interviewed another pioneer, Tim Frick. I think we already mentioned him. And he shared his enthusiasm for this label, his confidence also that the momentum will only increase. Do you share the same confidence, both of you?
I think we're both very vocal proponents of the B Corp framework and the B Corp ethos of using business as a force for good. It's a very simple proposition, really, if you look at it like that. As I mentioned earlier, I think it's been really transformational, and not only from myself, from my personal journey, but for the company going through B Corp, it really has helped us focus onto how to be incrementally better. And I think that's what a lot of people perhaps, I think with some of the criticism that B Corp's been getting lately, some people have highlighted a couple of companies who have achieved certification who they may not have warranted that. I think what's being missed when people take that stance is that B Corp isn't a beatification for companies. It's not saying, you've done everything you can. You've now got this wonderful badge, and your work here is done. It's saying that you've achieved a certain level and are committing to improve on that year on year, day by day. B Corp isn't in of itself a thing. It isn't. It isn't a thing to achieve. It's it's a framework. It's a system for running your business and helping to improve it as you go forward into the future.
I quite agree. It's a framework. It's a framework to help each other see where you're falling short and learn from each other. The word that keeps coming to my mind when we talk about B Corp is not the framework and the B impact assessment, but the community. And the beauty of this community is that they all have been through this rigorous framework and they know how hard it is. So they want to help each other improve not just their scores, but their businesses. And when you speak to another business owner, you have empathy of the journey they've been through, the struggles they've been through, and how hard it is to continually improve when you're still trying to make finances work. You're trying to pay salaries and win clients and win trust while doing this other thing, which is improving your social workers governance, all of these categories. And you want to speak with somebody who's done it better than you. And the nice thing about the B Corp community is that you can speak to someone and they're willing to share. And that's the beauty of being in the B Corp community. So even if it might not be perfect, like Gavin said, there are some companies that might get through because of whatever reasons. The truth is that it is a place where you can feel safe and learn from each other and improve not just your business, but your understanding of how other businesses run.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. The community around B Corp is wonderful. We're just establishing a B local group in Surrey, which is lacking at the moment. So, and it's just amazing to the connection it gives you to all sorts of different types of businesses, and the willingness to be open and to share is very tangible in that community. You're absolutely right there, Vineeta.
My next word is kind of connected to what you just said, and this is peers. How to make an impact in the agency world. Did sustainability become a topic in the agencynomics, to reuse the name of this podcast, Gavin, that you were recently invited to?
Yes, no, absolutely. It's. I'm just going to talk about B Corp again there, but the whole notion of sustainability is getting massive recognition right now in the agency space. I just spoke at the Agency Hackers Agency Good Agencies conference, which is purely around this topic, and covered a lot of the things that we've been talking about today. As I've said, I'm already a member of the BEMA Sustainability Council. BEMA is the British Interactive Media Association. It's the largest trade group for agencies, and I know Wholegrain are members as well. They have the Sustainability Council under the auspices of BEMA. I also ran a 7-month free program of B Corp boot camps for other agencies looking to become certified. So yeah, it's a really hot topic right now, and the number, it seems that every other agency that you speak to is considering the B Corp certification or is already on the journey.
Vineeta, I just like to bring back this article I mentioned, the one Tom and you wrote in Branch Magazine, because that's interesting what Gavin just said, because Tom and you wrote about the challenge of being honest and transparent, open and honest. I remember the words, because you say that there is a lot of bravado and marketing hype in the agency world, and everyone claims to be perfect, and you cannot really admit flaws. I think you use the word risky marketing strategy. And the problem with the sustainability journey is that you make mistake every day, almost every day, and it's really a learning by doing journey. So isn't it hard for a marketing agency to embark on a journey where it might have to admit flaws and mistakes in front of others despite all of these peer pressures to be always, the shiniest one, etc., etc. How do you deal with such a challenge?
I think people appreciate honesty and authenticity. They appreciate you telling them about your failures more than you realize. When you tell somebody, this is where I stumbled, you're pointing that stone that you stumbled on so that others don't. And that's the open source community. That's the point of community. That's how we all, as humans, survived. And therefore, I don't see it as a challenge of telling somebody where we failed. And when I tell somebody where we have stumbled, they have been more empathetic than not. It doesn't make us look the shiniest, but if you've met Tom or me in person, we're not the shiniest looking people anyway, and we're pretty honest. You'll not see me wearing makeup and looking the prettiest, but I know what I'm doing, and that's what clients see, that's what peers see, and they have mutual respect because you know that they are good at their craft. And that's where I feel the authenticity is what matters. So telling people your true story, even when you fell down and got up, it actually makes people feel like, yeah, you're human just like me. And we all have been through all these difficult spirals where you feel like, when is this going to be better again? But then we come out the other side, don't we? So it's like a sharing challenges on what you're facing is something that Whole Grain has done for many, many years through blogs, through public articles. And I think that has won the hearts of other people as well because they can relate to it rather than going, oh, they won a shiny award, which we don't win many awards anyway. But it's intentional because that's not a part of our strategy. Authenticity is a part of our strategy. So we stay true to who we are.
Indeed, you shared quite a lot.
Can I just say, Vineeta, I think as far as you and Tom go, it's your authenticity that makes you shine.
Oh,
So
thank
that's
you.
and I think I totally agree. I think maybe what Gail's referring to is kind of somewhat of the old thinking of agency world, where it was very much competitive. The big mega agencies sort of duking it out at the top. I think we feels like we're moving beyond that now, and there is in the sustainability community, definitely, but I also think in agency land, in the community amongst agencies, I think there is a real network of support like I've not really experienced elsewhere in commercial life. And I think you're right. The celebration of our humanity and the fact that it is a struggle. It's a hard business to be in, and if you take your eye off the ball, the adage goes is you're only three phone calls away from the agency going under. It's very is you sometimes operating on quite slim margins and knife edge of profitability. So the fact that we are able to be open and to share these things with each other and to support each other is actually now a trademark of agencies, whereas maybe it wasn't in the bad old days.
Quite a lot of evolution in the way you do business, which is a nice transition with my almost last word, which is regenerative business. Selecting clients or selecting missions to be sure that they do have a positive impact on the world. I know that is something that Whole Grain Digital has been focusing from the very beginning with the process that you actually open sourced. But could you both of you elaborate a bit of how it resonates? There's two words, sorry, the regenerative business.
There's resilience in a business that's regenerative and a business that actually can feed not just itself but its community around is a regenerative business. So you're spreading the knowledge and sort of not becoming just a thought leader, but also feeding the thing that you're trying to promote through everybody else. So that's how I feel about digital sustainability. So with the way we've run our business, it has helped become regenerative because people have also put their effort into talking about the things we're talking about. So I feel like the regenerative is a very involved term in so many different angles that you can talk about how you'll regenerate. But I'm going to give Gavin the opportunity because I think he'll be better at answering this question.
I don't know about that, Vineeta, but I'll give it a go. I think for me, the regenerative label is helpful. It's positive because I think if we just take it from a pure linguistic point of view, sustainability is that doesn't really feel like a goal. In the same way that net zero doesn't really feel like a goal. You're moving toward to the status quo. You're moving towards where things should be, but that's just equilibrium. I think to then tip over to the next positive round of business, the next way of thinking about things, is to say, yeah, sustainability is one thing, but we do need to be regenerative. That doesn't mean necessarily, it's not like a whole transformation piece and you're moving from a sustainable business to a regenerative business. It's more to do with the mindset of thinking about business in the round, and the fact that if the world is a better place because your company exists, then you are a regenerative business in whatever way that is, with what you're able to give back to the community, to share on a wider basis, to improve the health and well-being of your employees over and above just providing good employment. That makes you a regenerative business. It's a term that's being bandied around a lot in regenerative farming, regenerative industry, but I think it's a helpful and aspirational label, but it doesn't mean we should stop thinking about sustainable business.
Yeah, I think that's the bit about regenerative is you're giving back more than you are taking away from wherever you are, whether that be farming or in business world. You're sort of contributing constantly. Of course, not at the expense of your health, but you're contributing to the greater cause. And that sort of feeds back into your business as goodwill.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, fair point. I'd like to finish with a sometimes a bit more controversial word, but I believe that it's a discussion you have quite often with your clients, and this is offset. What about carbon offsetting? Yeah, I don't know if you've seen this episode, but John Oliver, in one of his Last Week Tonight show, had this very provocative sentence like, you cannot offset our way out of climate change. And to be honest, the laws of climate physics are on his side, but still planting trees, when wisely done, also contributes to capture carbon and support biodiversity. So what's your stance on this? Do you use this within your business? Do you discuss it with your clients?
Yeah, we do offset, but a bit like John Oliver, I do believe in the concept that you can't expect, if you just translate it to normal life, you can't tell somebody, hey, here's some money, you don't cheat on your wife so that I can. That's what offsetting is in a way. And it's a very controversial term because you're trying to, when you're offsetting, you're trying to sort of say, I did something bad, but here's some candy so that you forget about it. But at the same time, it's the focus should be on reduction of carbon emissions. And if there is a reason to offset because you couldn't reduce it any further, which is in our case as well, then offset does become really important. And then that's where the word regenerative comes. For example, mangroves planting, you're sort of doing a lot more than just planting trees. You're planting when you're planting forests in countries where you're also producing employment to women who couldn't get employment in a traditional environment, then you're actually making a greater difference, not just environmentally, but socially, and giving somebody a better life. So I'm an advocate for offset when you've ran out of options, not as a default saying, "Hey, we'll go and plant X number of trees so that we can go and fly abroad for holiday." And I probably have very strong opinions about this, and that is very radical. But at the same time, offset really has a place, and we try to offset using Eden reforestation scheme, or schemes that are actually really true to what they're trying to do. Hopefully that's something that you can edit out if it's too radical.
No, I won't. I want it. It's perfectly balanced, and I really love the. I might even put it in one of the quote, like I'm an advocate of offsets when you run out of any other solution.
Of options. Yeah.
Options. Sorry.
Yeah, I think the fact of the matter is that offsets are necessary. I mean, there is no net zero plan in the world that doesn't feature some level of offsets. It just depends what type of offsets you're thinking about. I heard a similar anecdote, Vineeta, about cheating on your wife, or paying someone not to smoke so that you can continue smoking.
Yeah.
It's the damage is being done. Let's face it. Maybe you're doing good elsewhere, but the damage is still being done. So we have to focus on reduction first, and then offset where we cannot reduce any further. And that's really what the net zero goal is all about. Reducing with the SBTI goal, it's reducing your emissions in real terms by 90%, and then offsetting for the last 10%.
I love these numbers.
Yeah, I mean, and you've got 7 years to do it. So let's get cracking. It does depend on how you look to do your offsets as well. I mean, tree planting is fantastic. We plant trees through our partner with Ecology, and have done for a number of years now. But we also do invest in direct air capture with Climeworks, the Zurich startup. And there are other areas of more sort of more permanent carbon removal through biochar products, and through some other investment in real carbon positive technologies that we're exploring right now. So I did hear offsets saying, look, this really isn't something that contributes to minimizing your carbon footprint. It's more of a CSR activity. But that's not to say that you shouldn't do it. It's still very important. So we, as a service-based industry, we are able to offset all of our carbon straight. We offset 2 to 3 times more carbon than we produce anyway. But then that doesn't stop us from having a strong carbon reduction and carbon removal plan as well.
Yeah, fair point.
I agree.
But that's easier to do in some sectors than others. So, but that definitely shouldn't be a blank check.
Yeah, but then as because it's like anything, because we are able to do more and have more benefit than the harm that we make. Then we should take that opportunity to do all the good we can.
Well, I think this conversation could go on for a few extra hours. Nonetheless, you've got business to run. So I'd like to ask you a final question, which is a very standard one. We talked about Tom's book, Tim's book, the job done at the Greenwood Foundation by Chris Adams. We should have also mentioned Hannah Smith's works, and especially in the WordPress community, with a lot of other people as well, who has helped bringing the digital sustainability topic on the very top of the list. But do you have other resources do you have? Yeah, books, podcasts, articles that you would warmly recommend to anyone wanting to either get to know or even you get a bit deeper in the digital sustainability knowledge space?
There's a couple that I would suggest. I know we've already talked about, like you said, Tom's book. Tom also has a wonderful Substack newsletter called Oxymoron, which is more his more sort of personal musings, and I find that very positive. Comes out on a weekly basis. I always look forward to that. On a more sort of practical and resource level, Gail, have we talked about the ISIT handbook for sustainable digital services? Has that been mentioned previously? Yeah, so that's something that I do refer to quite a lot, and the work that was published by the Web Almanac recently, the HTTP archive, they added a new chapter on web sustainability this year, and I thought that was actually a really good run through of all of the aspects that you might think about when covering the sustainability online. So those were good ones. I also like the Farshad Irani, his talking.
Yeah, absolutely.
His musings are
Optimized.
fantastic. Yeah, really good stuff. Did you read his latest one, the Beyond Data Transfer blog?
Yeah, that's a masterpiece. That's one of the best articles I read on this topic with the work of Gauthier Roussils that I should have mentioned, and I'm very sorry to him that he's maybe one of the top research leader worldwide, but I know that um, Tom and Vineeta, they know him pretty well as well. Yeah, it was a masterpiece what Farshad has done. And actually, he was my very first guest on the show. So
Oh, was he?
it
I
was a
must listen
special.
back to
Yeah,
that. I must listen back to
yeah,
that
yeah,
one.
yeah. My very first guest.
So there we go, full circle.
Yeah, you have really mentioned all of my heroes like Hannah Smith, Chris Adams, and Gauthier, and just all of the people you've mentioned. Tim is I'm an absolute fan of Tim Frick, and it's just really nice to be in this happy bubble where everyone cares and really is doing the right thing. And I'm so excited now. I'm connected with Gavin as well. I'm just so happy. Thank you.
Wonderful finally meeting.
Yeah, I know. We should arrange another time to have a chat as well. I'd love to know a bit more about you. And thanks for mentioning oxymoron. The bit that I was going to say was sustainablewebdesign.org, which is a resource that Tom, my husband, Tim Frick's agency, Mighty Bytes, and also Digital Declutter Toolkit, which is a toolkit to not just talk about website carbon emissions, but also other digital carbon emissions that we produced with Business Declares, which is an organization that talks to a larger business community on declaring climate emergency. Yeah, and thanks for mentioning oxymoron. It's my personal favorite as well. It is quite amazing to watch Tom toss and turn on these thoughts, and then finally, put together a blog post, and then sort of cringe as he's hitting publish, and then nice people like yourself mention it. Thank you.
Well, no, it's just wonderful. You know what's so good about the oxymoron thing is I think sometimes, and we've talked a lot of some of the quite sort of heavy sides of and the challenges facing us when we're talking about being more sustainable, about particularly online. But I think there was one episode of the oxymoron. It really stuck with me, and it's kind of become my catchphrase when I'm talking about all of these things. Where Tom was talking about the fact that was perfection an issue, and I think
Yes,
if what we really must focus on is not to let perfection be the enemy of progress. And that
absolutely.
really stuck with me, and I think that's a maxim that we should all try and live by when we're thinking about these topics.
Yes, one of our old clients came, said to me, old clients, I think clients from the olden days, said, "Done is better than perfect." And she would just look at me and go, done is better than perfect. And I'd be like, no, but high quality craft. And she'd be like, no, do it and ship it and we'll improve it. And I was like, okay, I get it. And I think that was really helpful to see where we sometimes get stuck. We sort of hang on to things. It's not perfect. I don't want to show it to the world yet. But no, it's good. Send it. Let people critique it. It'll get better.
It'll get better, and it'll get better through us collaborating on it, and that's how we progress.
Yes.
And it resonates quite a lot with the way I struggle with the podcast and like always wanting it to be better and perfect and just, okay, just do it. But I will come back to this point a bit later. I first wanted to thank you so much, both of you, to take the time to join the show, to share all this knowledge, to be very open about what has worked and didn't work. So it was a real honor to have both of you on the show. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gaël. Wonderful to meet you, Vineeta.
And I would say the cherry on top of the cake, and that's actually the second time it happens, so it validates my new strategy of having rather 2 or 3 guests than just one, is that once again a nice connection has been made among responsible technologists, and that really made my day. So I'm happy.
Me too.
Likewise. Click buttons.
And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you will enjoy the next one. Bye-bye.